What is going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. We're back. What are we now? 6 days? Is it right? Is that 6 days? It's a Friday. It's got to be 6 days if you're on the Xbox, of course. Sorry, PlayStation. 6 days until NHL 19 comes out, and we have officially seen all of NHL 19's, well, not officially all, just the top 50, but we've seen all of NHL 19's ratings released now. We've seen NHL.com go out there, the actual NHL release all of their player ratings, their top 10 list for every single position. So we're going to do, well, they did top 20 technically. EA did top 10 because that's all they really can do with the top 50, right? So we went out there today and we're going to compare these two. We're going to compare EA's lists to the actual NHL's list. And then we're going to contemplate which one's more accurate. Obviously, we can all think differently. I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking on it. I'll tell you what I'm thinking on it. There definitely is some differences in some of these lists. We're going to start out with the goaltending, all right? And when I say differences, it doesn't get any more different than the goaltending. So here we are. Here's EA's top 10 goalies. We've seen Carey Price, very controversial at the top. Sergei Bobrovsky 2, Braden Holtby 3, Tuukka Rask 4, Pekka, Jonathan Quick 5, Pekka should have been 5, Devin Dubnyk 6, Andrei Vasilevsky 7, Pekka Rinne 8, Matt Murray 9, and Freddie Anderson 10. So we've seen EA's list, pretty well documented what I thought about EA's list, but let's go over and let's check out the NHL's list, starting off with the top 3. Sergei Bobrovsky is number 1. Who's going to complain as a Blue Jackets fan? Honestly, if, the playoff thing was looked at more heavily, there's no chance he'd be at number 1, but he's a great goaltender during the regular season. If we could have playoff Bob be regular season Bob, Blue Jacket fan would be very happy. Number 2, Braden Holtby. Clearly, they went out there and it was like, you had that type season, but you went out there and turned up in playoffs. You can go and be number 2. Then the surprise one right here. Number 3 is Andrei Vasilevsky, not the Vezina winner. The guy, the young guy that goes out there and has a fantastic season at the end of the day. There's not a lot of arguments of how great he played. You can complain or talk about him being carried and this and that. At the end of the day, he's seen a lot more shots than 90% of the league did back there in net. So he had to be doing something right. Going down the list, though, I can't believe Vasilevsky's that high. I'm still a little bit surprised by that one. I can hear the arguments behind it, but I'm just surprised they jumped the gun on Vasilevsky. But when you talk about jumping the gun, they didn't really jump the gun on Vasilevsky as much as they did on number 4 on the list, Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck, oh man, he came up in the league. I was like, man, he's pretty solid. Then last year, he just kind of dropped. Was it last year he dropped the ball? Or was it the year before? But he came back and bounced back this year. Was a Vezina Finals, had a great season. And he did really well as well. To see him at number 4, though, I am really surprised. Of all lists, I think I would say goalies might be the one where I actually would think EA's logic of holding off a year for players would make sense, especially for the young guys. Maybe not for the older guys when they start to fall. If they start to fall, for some of the younger guys, maybe you have them fluke-type seasons. But you got, at the same time, it's a yearly thing. You got to go off last year. So, like I said, I guess Hellebuyck 4 makes sense. Number 5, Johnny Quick. Number 6, Marc-Andre Fleury. We can see the difference there. Instead of having Dubnyk, instead of having Rask, we have Andre Fleury and Hellebuyck. Can you really argue with the season Marc-Andre Fleury had not to put him at 6? You got to let him up there, right? I mean, there's nothing against the way he played this season. Whether he played half the season or not, he played so well back there for the Vegas Golden Knights. But did we even watch the same sport this year? Look at the difference in these lists. What did we agree on? We haven't agreed on a single spot yet. Some of these guys ain't even 1, 2. There's 2 of the top 5, 2 of the top 3 of the top 6. EA doesn't even have on their list compared to the NHL. Somebody was watching a different sport. Had to be. Number 7, Pekka Rinne to round off the top 10. Tuukka Rask, Freddie Anderson, and John Gibson, my boy. Showing John Gibson a love. You going to tell me Matt Murray belongs above John Gibson? I disagree. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, Matt Murray fans. John Gibson's a stud. I'm glad he got some respect this year. Top 10 on the list. If I had to choose which one I found more accurate, it's actually a tough one. But I can't condone Carey Price being number 1 anymore. And I can't condone Bob being number 1 because I'm a Blue Jackets fan and people will say you're biased. So with that, we're going to call it a draw. I have no choice. I'll let you guys tell me which goalie list more accuracy. I got my thoughts on it, but like I said, I can't side with Bobrovsky's side because people call me a biased Blue Jackets fan. So we're just gonna throw that one in the back door. Let you guys decide. Moving over to the defensemen, we're gonna go top 3 by top 3 here. A lot of similarities in that top 3. They agreed on the same top 3, not the same order. Victor Hedman. I was a little bit surprised. NHL said Victor Hedman is the number 1 defenseman in the league. I could have seen him saying Doughty. I could have seen him say Carlson. I was a little bit surprised to see Victor Hedman. I mean, when you consider Victor Hedman's the best D-man in the league, Kucherov's the best winger in the league, Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the league. How did this team ever lose? Somebody's going to bring it up down below about somebody getting carried. One of these guys had to be getting carried. They couldn't have, I mean, that's just disgusting. Best winger, best D-man, best goaltender. I guess Vasilevsky didn't get best goaltender, but he's up there, right? Somebody is getting carried. I know somebody's going to say it. Got to show some respect, though, to Tampa Bay. They're a pretty good team. And they're going to be a pretty good team for a while. We've talked about it multiple times. And we see Drew Doughty, like I said, Erik Karlsson, flippy-floppy for all of them. They didn't agree on the order, period. But they all three got the same guys top three. I don't think you can argue these guys not being top three. You can understand the flippin' Number 4 is Brent Burns. People have been joking about Brent Burns being number 4, and EA thinking Brent Burns is better than Pietrangelo. I think I seen that in the comments section the other day. But NHL agrees. They got Brent Burns at number 4 as well. Number 5, PK Subban compared to Alex Pietrangelo. And the big difference is here, like I said, Subban and Pietrangelo, which is a pretty big surprise in the first place when you consider PK Subban's on the video game cover and Pietrangelo isn't, or whatever, you know, right? I'm surprised that NHL was the one that went ahead and said, hey, PK Subban, you're a top 5 defenseman in our league. And EA said, I don't think so. Number 6, though, Seth Jones to Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I don't know if Ekman-Larsson is 6th on the list because, or he got slept on by the NHL, or if it's just EA saying, well, he's got a bunch of offensive stats that are good. And of course, you got to give him the defensive rating, so that's going to bump him up on the list. I was saddened, but not surprised EA didn't put Seth Jones on the list because he doesn't have enough hype. That's, you know, how a lot of these top 10 lists work for you. If you haven't noticed to an extent, is it's a popularity contest. How well does the public think this guy is? Seth Jones doesn't quite have that pop out there as an elite defenseman yet. As great as I think he is at defense, the NHL's noticed it, but you don't hear or talked about enough, so EA probably was like, we don't really hear about Seth Jones. He ain't no top 10 defenseman, right? Unfortunately, I feel like that's how it can be sometimes, and it doesn't really matter. They're great defensemen regardless, whether you put, you know, Ekman-Larsson or Seth Jones, and it is a video game overall compared to real life, where, you know, Seth Jones could be the better defenseman, or he could be the worst defenseman, that's your choice, but it's his stats just don't match up to that into a video game compared to, like I said, Ekman-Larsson's got them offensive statistics. Even though Seth Jones had a great offensive season last year, I gotta be careful what I say here. Then our final 4 spots going to Roman Josi, John Carlson, Alex Pietrangelo, and John Klingberg. The big difference here, we see Ryan Suter and Klingberg rounding out the top 10. EA and NHL disagree. And yeah, I've seen a lot of Klingberg guys out there. Where was Klingberg? Why didn't he make the top 10? NHL agrees with you guys. Klingberg needs to be up there. Ryan Suter, barely, but did still make it in EA's game. It's crazy that I'm going to say this, but I think I agree with EA more on this list. Maybe because I predicted the whole Drew Doughty, Hedman, Karlsson, Burns order for the predictions, but again, it's a video game, so you always have to think of it like that. But I do like EA's ratings here. I don't want to, you know, throw any shade at guys like John Klingberg, though. I think they deserve the top 10, but I still think maybe I still would like to give the edge to EA here. Pietrangelo can't be slept on, and they slept on Pietrangelo, it looks like. And I don't think I'd call Seth Jones the 6th best D-man in the league. As much as I'd love it to be true, I don't know if I put him up there yet. Okay, we're going to move over to the wingers now. I got to show you real quick. The wingers are different. The NHL didn't do a top 10 left wings. They didn't do a top 10 right wings. They did a top 20 wingers. Wingers in general. So we're just going to go wingers in general here. We're doing left wing, right wing combined. And I couldn't separate them and try to do them separately because, well, EA released the top 50 and only 12 or 13 of them were indeed wingers. I only had like 6 right wings and 7 left wings or something. So we did top 12 here as far as wingers are concerned. And starting at the top of our list, kind of gave a little sneak peek earlier, and that was Nikita Kucherov. NHL is agreeing Kucherov is the number 1 winger over Alex Ovechkin, while EA says Ovi first, Kucherov second. This was a gameplay move by EA. If EA didn't put Ovechkin over Kucherov, I'm pretty sure 95% of the community would have completely lost it because it was Ovi's year, so they gave it to Ovi. You had to give it to Ovi. Ovi had his year. Ovi's best year of his career. Ovi's Stanley Cup winner. Ovi's just an enjoyable person. Keeping up with the Ovechkins is still not on E, unfortunately. But Ovechkin, I can see why they gave him number 1. I'm a big Kucherov guy, though. I've been a Kucherov guy through and through. Before the season started, I was like, guys, dropping 100. He dropped 100. People slept, well, I wouldn't say they slept on him, but they definitely didn't quite give him as much as hype as I would have thought he deserved to start the season. And Tampa Bay just tore the cover off of everything. And it was like, here you go, Kucherov, number 1. Then moving down the list once again, we got a little flippy-floppy. Taylor Hall 3, Patrick Kane 4. EA's got Patrick Kane 3, Taylor Hall 4. I am going to again side with NHL probably on this one just because you got to go off the most recent year. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have said Patrick Kane every single time. But Taylor Hall just went out there and carried. I said carried the New Jersey Devils to the playoffs. You got to give him the respect. No doubt, you got to have him over Patrick Kane this season. It might not be the same at the end of next year. You got to have him this year. Number 5 and number 6. Here's where we start to see EA's ratings of previous years way more than last year's ratings of how the guys actually played. Because you see Brad Marchand at number 5. I couldn't agree more. Marchand deserves every bit of being number 5. Did he even make EA's list? I think he did make his list. It's a ways down there. Vladimir Tarasenko's 5 on EA's list. I think Vladimir Tarasenko's a great winger. There's no argument, though, that Brad Marchand belongs this high on the list. Number 6 was Patrick Laine, and you seen Johnny Gaudreau by EA. Again, Patrick Laine, the way he's been playing, I like Laine up here, the goal scorer. Then showing you the rest of the list, EA does not have Claude Giroux on the list. NHL does have Claude Giroux on the list because EA did have him as a center. Remember, you guys made fun of me saying Claude Giroux played winger last season. Well, EA doesn't watch hockey. So, sorry, EA. I'm trying to be nice. All right, but we knew you was going to put him at center, and they did put him at center, so that's why Claude Giroux's not making this list. We got to keep it realistic. We got to go what EA said. NHL said Claude Giroux 7, Jamie Benn 7. Hey, that's all right. I like Jamie Benn. Patrick Laine 8, Jamie Benn 8. Blake Wheeler, 2 of them that was agreed on right there. Number 9, Blake Wheeler. Then we get to that bottom 3 right there. Panarin, Kessel, Marchand compared to Panarin, Tarasenko, Gaudreau. It's crazy not to call Tarasenko a top 10, top 11, top 12 winger, but at the same time, you're tit for tat included down here at the bottom of the list. Blake Wheeler's a stud that doesn't get enough respect either, right? There's a lot of guys. It's the top 12 in the entire league. There's nothing to be ashamed of because your wingers are combined here. Nothing to be ashamed of when you consider, your 12th would actually be a top 6 left wing or top 6 right wing, right? So there's nothing to be ashamed of at all of being 12th. It's a tight list at the top, so you do have to keep that in mind with the wingers where it is going to be different when you get down to 9, 10, 11, 12. You can't get too bent out of shape because at the end of the day, he still is the 4th or 5th best player at his position just combined together. Whose list do I think is more accurate on this one? I mean, first of all, you can't put the wrong guys in the wrong positions, EA. Claude Giroux's a winger these days, so that's point number 1 for NHL. NHL noticed that Brad Marchand just doesn't slew foot and knock guys out and make the rest of the league a little upset. He actually plays good hockey, so that's point number 2, NHL. And I don't have any more points to bring up, so that's ding, ding, ding. NHL wins on that one. All right, we saved the bread, the butter, and the cookies for last. Our centermen. Here's NHL.com's top 10 centers. Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Evgeno Malkin, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, Anze Kopitar, Mark Scheifele, love seeing him get the love, Patrice Bergeron, Tyler Seguin, and John Tavares. And I will bring it up because I forgot to say at the beginning of the video, is these are straight off of NHL.com's site. There's lists like this floating all over on Twitter. Even NHL's tweeted a couple of them that's like fan votes or certain analyst opinions. So if you see a little bit of a discrepancy in the list and maybe the one you've seen, that is probably why. Just keep that in mind right there. But here's our top 10. John Tavares, Tyler Seguin, like I said, rounding off the bottom 10. Moving on to EA's. And we're going to show you EA's top 4 first. We don't see a difference in the top 4 until we get to number 4. And it's Steven Stamkos v. Austin Matthews. We've already talked about it. And the reason I see Stamkos, and I feel like I'm switching to the dark side right here. I've always been such a anti-Matthews guy, but I got to give him some respect. I can't be anti-Matthews forever. The guy's been playing great hockey. You look at him side by side, you really even can't do that. One played with Kucherov and one played with Nylander and Marner. You're going to like me for that one, Leafs fans, right? Right? I knew you wanted to hear that one. They love it when you talk about Matthews not playing with anybody good. He played with Brown and Hyman, all right? That's all he played with 2 years in a row. I honestly don't even know which line mates Matthews played with this season. I'm not going to pretend I do know. I just know I hear that story a lot. But you can't argue with the fact of playing with Nikita Kucherov at the same time helping you out. But Stamkos could hold his own for the longest time in the league. So you can't be out there and be like, oh, Kucherov carried him, because Stamkos carried himself for what, a decade? He ain't that old, is he? Gosh dang, he's been in the league forever. But Stamkos, 27 goals this season, 15 of which were on a power play. Then you look at Matthews, he had 34 goals this season. He only played 62 games. He would have probably had 42. Can you argue that? About 4, what is that, 40? Really? I mean, when you consider he had 62 games, played 34 goals, he was scoring a goal every 2 games pretty much. He's considered 20 games left. You could have said he was a 44 goal scorer. And he only scored 8 goals on a power play. And I never really talk about it much, but other people love talking about it. And it really does make logical sense when you consider one scored 15 of his 27 goals, over half on a power play. And the other guy scored 8 of his 34 and scored well over 60%. I ain't even going to try to do the math. It's too early to be doing math these days. But anyway, 26 of his 34 goals weren't on a power play. You consider even strength goals are a lot harder to come by, and it's a lot more impressive whether you see how many of these guys score in a power play and you can say, well, he's clutching a power play. At the end of the day, you're pretty impressive if you can score even strength and do it on a consistent basis and do it a lot. And Matthews has done that 2 years in a row. And you look at Matthews as more of a two-way type player. Granted, I think this is where we see the difference in Stamkos being up on this list. I've seen some guys chuckling about EA giving Stamkos a 90 overall on his defensive rating for defensive awareness. People are disagreeing with that. He's not that great on his own end. And Matthews is fantastic. I'm not taking a shot to Stamkos. I mean, he's a great all-around player in general, but he's not as great, I guess people would say, as Austin Matthews is on his own end. Considering most of the young defensemen or young centermen as well usually struggle in the dot, where second year in his career, Matthews here has got a 54% in the face-off rating. That's going to help you out a little bit too, getting looked at as a pretty solid center. And then Stamkos, I mean, like I said, as tough as it is for the younger guys to learn how to win a face-off, Stamkos didn't start winning 50% until, what, 2 years ago? But man, I don't know. NHL's had Matthews at their number 4 center 2 straight seasons now. Stamkos is just one of them guys, like, I feel EA on this one. Like, you just feel like it's Stamkos and you have to rate him high, right? It's just, I don't have any argument against him being number 4 on the list, but man, Matthews did have a pretty solid season. So did Stamkos, though. It's just a tough list. Centerman of all lists is one of the toughest ones, at least for me, in my opinion, because there's so many good centermen in the league. Speaking of which, we got 6 more to reveal here real quick. And they are Nathan MacKinnon, Anze Kopitar, EA and NHL agreed, Patrice Bergeron, John Tavares, Tyler Seguin, and Claude Giroux. Now, we've seen Kopitar and Bergeron sandwiched together there, and I can see EA's logic. They think they're similar type players, both of them great defensively, got some offensive abilities as well. But Mark Scheifele, I respect seeing Mark Scheifele make this list. Maybe he makes EA's list if Claude Giroux plays winger instead of center in their game. But Mark Scheifele deserved to make this list, and he didn't make the EA's top 10. I was kind of upset to see that, but Mark Scheifele, I like seeing it. John Tavares, Tyler Seguin, we see a lot of similar names there in the bottom 3 as well. Again, nothing to be upset from being 7 to 10. There's a lot of good centermen in the league. But obviously with this one, you got to agree with NHL.com again, because EA doesn't know what position players played last year, going back to the thing that EA looks at years prior. Way too much compared to last year, and some of us still question if they watched hockey last year. Maybe they watched less games than I did. Is that possible? They might have. Otherwise, though, guys, these are all the rankings we're going to be comparing today. The NHL versus EA Sports. What you guys thinking? Did EA get them all right? Did NHL get them all right? Did they split it? I know I only agreed with EA on one of the lists. There might be more lists than that EA was properly correct on. Let me know down below. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.